Bulking. By the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly how to put on a bit of muscle without putting on tons of fat. Now, this word bulking is incredibly misunderstood. We think bulking means, yeah, well, I'm gonna put on loads of size, I'm gonna eat loads, and I'm gonna lift more, and I'm gonna get massive. That's part of it. However, bulking is not meant to get you fat. There is actually a way you can put on muscle, a good amount of muscle, without putting on a belly. And this video is gonna show you exactly how to minimize the fat gain during the bulk. So, without further ado, let's get big. The first thing we need to understand about bulking is calories. Now, unless you've been living under a box, you know that in order for our body to put on any amount of weight, whether it's fat, water, muscle, whatever it is, we need more calories in than leaving our body. And we need to understand energy expenditure. Sciencey for calories in, calories out. Right. Bulking is not about eating a crazy amount of calories. The more calories you eat, the bigger you get. That is not the reality. Now, what we have to understand about calories is what is our daily expenditure, which basically means how much you burn in each day. So, daily. Forgive the handwriting. I left school a couple years ago. I ain't been back. So, forgive the handwriting. Calories daily. For example, if you are somebody that burns 2,000 calories per day, nice round number. If you're somebody that burns 2,000 calories a day and you consume 1,800, it means you're going to be in a calorie deficit. If you're in a calorie deficit, that means you're going to lose weight. Now, depending on what sort of macros, and macros are simply carbs, fats, and proteins, depending on what macros you're consuming those calories on, is depending on whether that's mainly going to be muscle, fat, or whatever. Do you get what I'm saying? You get the drift that loses the weight. So, if you're somebody that is burning 2,000 calories a day and you're looking to bulk, this is where it's misunderstood. People think, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this number into 3,000. People just pick a number. More's better. Yeah, not all the time. And especially not when we're bulking. With calories, what we have to understand is there's a certain amount of calories our body will use. The rest will get stored. And unfortunately, most of that storage is not in your biceps. Or it might be, but it will be fat. Truthfully. Now, this is where people go wrong. Calories. The more you eat does not mean the more muscle. So what we have to understand is daily, how much are we burning? If you're somebody that is burning 2,000 calories, fantastic, nice round number. What we want to do, instead of going straight to 3,000, what we want to do is we just want to be in a slight surplus, 2,200. So now what's going to happen is that additional 200 is not going to be excessive, and your body's going to look at that and be like, sick. Again, depending on whether it's fats, carbs, or protein, or we've hit our protein target, which we'll get onto in a minute, our body's gonna look at and be like, nice, a couple extra calories. I'm gonna use this. However, a couple extra calories is 200, and a silly amount of calories, or a silly increase, is 3,000. Part of the problem with bulking is that people think eating this means more muscle to eating this, and that's not the case. Those extra 800 are probably gonna be stored as fat, regardless of whether it's clean food, fast food, processed food, and all of that stuff. Now we've got calories sort of out of the way. They're gonna take a back seat. You know when you get on a bus, you go at the back, and you're chilling. When it's time for our stop, we're gonna get back up and bring up calories, all right? So put a pin in it. Put a pin in calories for a second. Next one is, you knew it was coming, protein. Now, protein. Protein actually comes from the Greek word protos, which actually means primary. Primary means uno, one, number one, priority, right? Protein is our priority. Now, that doesn't mean, like with this, that we go overboard and we go nuts, because ultimately there's a certain amount of protein that your body will actually use a day. The rest, what do we think happens? Goes into storage. Now, That storage, whether it's carbs, fats, proteins, a lot of the time, if it's storing too much, more than the body will use, that is not going to get stored as muscle, it will get stored as fat. The body will only use what it needs to. Protein. Now, best way to break this down is if you are somebody that is, I'll use myself for example, I won't use myself. I'm a bit of a donut. I'll use someone else. You want to be getting about 1.2 to 1.6, a sort of 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now that sounds mathy, so we're going to do the mathematics. If you are 70 kilograms and we want to be doing this same calculation, say we'll go into the extreme end of 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, we're going to be looking at 140 grams of protein. Now, for example, here, 70 times 2 equals 140. 140 G's. 140 G's on the board. This is the amount of protein that ideally you're going to be going for if you are in a bulk. Now, what happens if we don't hit our protein target? The world ends. No. What happens if we don't miss our protein target is not much. Now, if we super don't miss our protein target, and imagine our target is 140 and we hit 50 or 60, then that's going to be having a negative effect over a long enough period of time. If you do it for a day, it's not that deep. If you do it for 2, 3, 4, 5, it gets deeper each sort of day that you miss it. So the two main factors when it comes to bulking correctly are calories and protein. They do 90% of the legwork. Yeah, what I want you to imagine is if you are lifting weights progressively, you're lifting heavier and heavier, you're getting your protein target in daily, every single day, most days. You're hitting the amount of calories and you're in a surplus by just about 200 more most days, and you're not going mad like here, 3,000, all that stuff. You are going to put on a significant amount of body weight, muscle, quickly. That's 90% of the legwork, if I'm honest. Now, the last thing, that's super important when it comes to bulking is progressive stimulus. If I've spelt progressive wrong, let me know. Don't be too rude though. Do you get what I'm saying? So progressive stimulus is basically every single time you enter the gym, your mindset needs to be, right, did I lift this weight last week and track it? But that's a whole nother conversation. Did I lift this weight last week? If so, how many reps did I lift this weight for? Right, so what we're gonna do is we're either gonna increase the weight or we're going to increase the reps. So we might, for example, if you went into the gym and you done 100 kilograms for 6 reps, what we're looking to do, either the week after or the week after the week after, it may take time, okay? It's not 1 + 1 = 2. Sometimes it differs depending on fatigue, depending on readiness, depending on genetics, depending on a bunch of things. However, this is just sort of the general idea, all right? Just sort of follow this, all right? Forget about the rest of the stuff outside of your control. We go in, we do 6 reps. 6 of those. The next week or week after, what we want to be doing is we either want to go from 100 kilograms to maybe 102.5 kilograms, or we want to be going from 100 kilograms of 6 reps to 7 reps. Whatever one's easier. Now, when we increase one, then we increase the other. So then ultimately, the goal is by the end of that month or maybe 2 months, depending, we want to be lifting 102.5 kilograms for maybe 8 reps now. And this is progressive stimulus. What happens when we're not getting progressive stimulus is that the muscles are not getting stimulated, which then they're not ripping, which then means they're not repairing, which means they're not getting bigger, which means if you do put on any weight, it's fat. Basically, long story short. Hope this is making sense, but this is the triangle to it. Calories, you want to be looking at getting about 100 to 200, max about 300 more than your daily expenditure. Going above about 500, 600 into the realms of 1,000 is going to put you into a place where your body is going to use that as fat. It's not going to use that as muscle. Now, people think bulking is eating as much as possible and lifting as much as possible. It's partially right. However, it doesn't paint the full picture. And ultimately, the body's, you're only going to be able to put on about 200 grams, maybe 300 grams of muscle realistically per week/2 weeks. Now, of course, does it get more complex than this? Is there more details to it? Yes, there is. However, this does 90% of the legwork, if I'm honest with you. Like, more than 90%. This is the majority of it. Bulking, I want to make it clear. Bulking is not about eating loads, eating as much as possible, dirty bulking. It's not about this stuff, because ultimately your body is just going to use that as fat. If you go over a certain calorie threshold, about 200 to 500 more than your daily expenditure, it's just going to use it as fat, and you're going to put on fat. And then by the time you've bulked and you put on all that size, now you're going to have to go through a crazy cut phase when you didn't have to. If you just increase it by 200, yeah, people think bulking is a season where they can just be ill-disciplined, not track, and you know, it's just a reason to be a slob. If I'm super honest with you, don't grill me, but I've done this before, yeah. But bulking has the same amount of intentionality as cutting, because bulking is pointless if you put on a bunch of fat. It does not look right, and that's not what you want to do. You want to put on muscle without the fat. All right. Now, is there a little bit of fat when you put on weight, when you put on size? Yeah, maybe like a percent or whatever. That's why I say stay between 10 and 15% body fat. Try to do that year round. It's going to fluctuate, especially when it's cold, when it's winter. Your body wants to be a little bit more insulated and keep a little bit more fat. Blah, 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 whatever. Yeah. Progressive stimulus. Every time you go into the gym, you want to be adding 1.5 to 2.5 kilograms to your weights, to your squat, to your bench press, to your main compound lifts, and then especially even like the isolated stuff if you're doing like a bicep curl or whatever. Try to add a little bit of weight. Protein, your target is your body weight. So if you are 70 kilograms, you're going to times that by 2 basically. You're going to get 1.2 to 1.5 grams of 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So that would be around 140. If it's 120 to 140, that's fine. You're not gonna die. Calories, add 200 to 300. Don't be adding 1,000, because the rest of those calories are a waste and they will just get added around your love handles. What's the point in building a physique if you can't see it? I honestly think it is pointless. You want your fat percentage to be low enough so that people can see the work that you're putting in. Because let's be real, we're not going to the gym just so that we can get stronger. We're going because we want to look better, and this is how you look better. That's bulking simplified. Could have added a bunch more stuff on there, but you do those 3 things and you'll be looking like Arnold. I won't say a second name because it's too close to another word, but Arnold Schwartz, that brother. Progressive stimulus, protein, more than enough. Calories, boom. Don't need to overdo it. Simple, bosh, sorted. See you in a bit.